Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm It's Robbie Rhino, and in today's video I'm playing one of my favourite tanks in the game, one of the tier 10 German tank destroyers, the Jagdpanzer E100. And I'd just like to say that the videos that have been coming out this week have been recorded over the past sort of 1 or 2 months. I know there's been a lot of content coming out this week, and unfortunately I am currently on, unfortunately and fortunately, I'm currently on holiday or vacation or whatever you want to call it, depending on where you are in the world, meaning I can't get any videos on the current content out just this week, but this weekend coming the 7th and 8th of December and the week following, I'll be getting as much content about the new content as possible in the new season, so I'll be watching with intent as I'm on my holiday at the moment. So the Jagdpanzer E100, it did receive a slight buff fairly recently. The only thing that they did is increase the reverse speed of the tank, and it now goes 14 kilometers an hour, so I think it went from 12 to 14, so not a massive difference. It helps a little bit, but I don't know, I don't think it needed a massive change. It's just a really fun tank to play. It's got a 17cm gun with 1050 alpha damage. I mean, what's not to like, right? And it's got really nice armour, and I find that the armour works really well for me, as we just go for that chieftain there and bounce off his upper plate because I aimed really lazily. So this gun it's so enjoyable. As I said, I really like high alpha damage, but the penetration is just insane. It has 299mm of penetration on its standard rounds, and on its heat rounds, which, you know, you don't really need to carry, but I carry 6 just for shits and giggles. It has 420mm of penetration on its heat rounds, which is absolutely ridiculous. I also really enjoy this tank because it's so hardy. It withstands a lot of sort of really intense situations, and as you can see here, I'm surrounded by 3 tanks, and I'm just trying to angle as best as possible to the next tank I feel is going to shoot me, trying to get 45 degrees angles to anything that's shooting me, and I somehow managed to escape the situation just by sort of getting shots in where I can, and this light tank's coming to help me. I managed to get out of this situation, blocking 1990 damage in the process, 330 direct damage and 770 assistance, and I play this tank extremely aggressively. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You'll see in a replay coming up in just a moment that it can work like to hilarious proportions, and you can hold a whole flank by yourself. It's a really powerful tank. It does strike fear into your opponent's hearts when they see like this 17cm gun, sorry, coming around the corner. They just drive in front of you and they lose, you know, half their health or well over half their health, depending on how you roll. As we get a lovely 1078 roll here on Moravanka into that 705A, making our damage total now 4.4k direct damage and blocking 2.6k. The gun, 60 rated gun depression, you can make it work in quite a lot of areas. 17 degrees of elevation, which is really nice. Base reloads is fairly long, but sort of 25.7 seconds, but I mean, for 1050 alpha damage, it ain't too bad at all. Aim time is slightly long at 2.7 seconds, and the accuracy is okay at 0.35 base. I mean, it's more than okay, really. That's base. I've got that down now to 0.31 with my commander and my equipment setup, which I'll just talk you through in the next replay really quickly. And yeah, it's just all round great tank. I really enjoy it. I find I have a really good sort of I have really good games when I play this tank. It just suits my kind of play style. I play very aggressively. It's very forgiving. You can make a little bit of a mistake in this tank and you can do really well, and I highly recommend this line. The Jagdtiger at tier 9 is brilliant. It's got fantastic DPM, and that also received a buff. And I think the German tank destroyers are absolutely awesome. So yeah, I highly recommend you try them out. As we take out the Projectile 66 for our last kill of the game, picking up 5k direct damage, 770 assistance damage, finishing 3rd place on the team, blocking 2.6k, yeah, and getting a 1st class mastery badge. And I just wanted to include that replay to show, you know, I was in that position, that predicament with 3 tanks, but just try and angle as best you can and hopefully you'll get through it and you can make a massive impact in the game. So we're going to hop into the next replay now. I'll talk you through my commander and my equipment setup, and we'll talk about how ridiculous the gameplay is, so I'll see you there in a minute. So we're now in the 2nd replay of the video. We're here on Malinovka, so it's a very open map, and not particularly a map that I want to see in a tank like the Jagdpanzer E because you are so big and you are fairly slow. You are a target for artillery. Fortunately, there is only 1 artillery on the enemy team, but I didn't really want to go to the hill because it takes you a long time in a tank like this to get to the hill, and although I feel like the hill is the most important area at A0 and winning that little windmill, I want to stop tanks that seem to have a habit now, and it's kind of the meta of coming down the south and coming into sort of our base from that way. So I'm going to head over that way and I'm going to try and be the wall that absolutely is a fortress and stops the enemy team advancing, allowing tanks behind me and my artillery to do their job, and see how long I survive and see what kind of cool game that I can pick up playing like that. So just to talk over my equipment setup for you just a second. I run improved ventilation just to help everything, advanced loader because the reload is fairly long, and a gun lane drive just to get that aiming time down a little bit longer, and it means that I don't have to sort of expose myself without angling for too long whilst I'm aiming in on my opponents. Commander wise, I run 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic and Armour Angling. The last 2 are really sort of a heavy tank, kind of heavy tank destroyer skills that allow you to take less damage and get your tracks on faster because you don't have a turret, so people are going to try and track and get around you and circle you. The rest of them sort of gun handling skills as well as the rapid loading to help with the load time. So armour wise, why do I think that this tank is like a fortress and really useful? Well, looking dead on, the superstructure is about 275mm of effective armour, and when you angle you can get that up to between sort of 300 and 350 depending on if you're angling at 45 or if you're over angling slightly more at like 50 to 60 degrees. The lower plate you can get up to 45 degrees angle, you can get up to nearing 300mm of effective armour, I believe, and it does have a small cupola, but it is quite hard to hit when you're wiggling from side to side. The gun mantlet's really strong. The upper plate, if you angle, you can get that up to sort of above 400mm of effective armour, and if you just make yourself an absolute nuisance, then you know it's easier for you to bounce shots and do what I'm doing now. I'm just sort of angling at 45 degrees, trying to get tanks to aim at my superstructure and maybe hit my mantlet, my gun, bounce off the extreme angling. And when you're facing more than one enemy in a tank like this, as I'm doing now, kind of try and angle in the middle of them so that you're trying it to be at 45 degrees to sort of all targets that that you come across. And as you can see there, I'm just firing really quickly when I have the chance. I auto-aimed that one because I felt I didn't have time to sort of swivel and aim in because the M60 was sort of hopping over. But with this penetration, if you're auto-aiming, you're most likely going to be going in. Because I'm disgusting, I've switched to the heat rounds because I'm fighting a hold-down Soviet medium tank. And we absolutely obliterate that M60, and already we've picked up 4.5k block damage, 2.3k direct and 1400 assistance because our artillery is helping us out a lot. And as you can see, he takes out that T62A for me. This E4 comes over. I was going to go for the track down, I believe I did, just to keep that E4 sideways onto my friendlies, and yeah, Batchat again comes to the rescue, another artillery on my team, and takes out that E4, and I'm getting all the assistance for it. And now I've already blocked 7k, and it was a really hectic game. This, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, a little bit insane if you ask me, but yeah, I like to play this tank like that. It can be really fun. Yeah, and I highly recommend this tank if you want something like a heavy tank, but you like the heavy tank playstyle, but you want something with a bigger gun. It can be really useful to play a tank like this. It's really powerful. You've got the penetration, the armor, and yeah, it's all round good times. So we're now continuing our little push down this southern area of the map. We picked up 3.2k direct and 2.6k assistance. Still blocked 7,000. 2 tanks left on the enemy team in the platoon. We're going to try and get a shot on the move through the gap in that Stone Tiger, but we don't unfortunately get that shot. And now it's just the Object 907 left on the enemy team to try and get our last shell and, you know, try and get that little bit of last damage out of it. It's not a massive damage game, of course, this. Combined, it's not too bad for a tier 10 tank, but it's just the block damage and everything was a really fun sort of thing to do. And just blocking that southern area of the map and not allowing them to advance to our cap and take out our artillery. So we have 1 kill, 3.2k direct damage. We actually pick up a Master Badge Ace tanker there and a steel wall, unsurprisingly, for our 7k block damage. 2.8k assistance damage, and yeah, 1559 base experience points. And that is just how I play this tank and try some really memey kind of things, try and block as much as possible. So we're going to head on into the final replay and I'll talk you through that one, so see you there soon. So we're now into the third and final replay for the video. We're here on Fisherman's Bay, and like all of the maps in this video, they aren't the best kind of map for the Jagdpanzer E100. I'd say the best maps are probably city maps, because you are able to get to the fight quicker and you are able to use sort of hard cover to sort of side scrape and angle off of. But at least Fisherman's Bay does have like a little town area you can go to brawl, where heavy tanks do like to go. I noticed there's an Object 260 and an Object 279E, so I'm hoping that I sort of run into the heavy tanks in the town. And I'm just going to head over that way. As I said in the last replay, you have to be wary on maps like this, especially when there are artillery, and as you can see there are 2 in this replay. You have to be a little bit careful that you aren't being targeted, because you will be if you put yourself in a position to be targeted. Same with a Tortoise or a T95 or a Mouse or an E100, anything like that. Big target. You are going to be targeted by artillery, so try and minimize the risk of that happening. I mean, sometimes there just isn't anything you can do about it. You can always try and sort of wiggle and juke them and go forwards and backwards and change direction and use hard cover, but sometimes the situation, you know, you're just not allowed to do that. So on our way over here to the town, we fired a hopeful shot on the move, which sort of ballooned around and it didn't go anywhere, but I noticed the heavy behind me was kind of side scraping off, which is a good point. But as I've told you before, I play this tank very aggressively. I wasn't spotted when I came round, so I'm just going to push on down and just push on and try and sort of circle the enemy team, because if they haven't sent any tanks this way, I'm going to go to the south and then I'm going to try and sort of use these buildings and this sort of ridge and the rock over there to my right as cover to try and spot out tanks that might be around there. And there's nothing at all in the town. I wasn't detected, I'm still not detected, so at this point I was kind of assuming all of the tanks are probably going to be in that little TD spot to the southwest of this map in JK1 and 2. Unfortunately, we are a little bit late on the trigger there to killing that artillery, but thankfully that artillery was taken out, because that's 1 less artillery to shoot me. And I'm making a bit of a risky play here, trying to push over to this rock. Thought I might have had a shot, so I swung round, but unfortunately I didn't. And now I'm just trying to drive at an angle, sort of 45-degree angle. I slightly over angle and someone gets a shot into the side of my tank there. But yeah, we picked up 1,000 assistance damage in that push, and now we're in kind of the position I wanted to be, and I can use this rock to come out either side and shoot things as they get spotted, hopefully by my light tank that is currently in H6. I was kind of trying hoping that the light tank would push up just that slight bit more. This M60 is trying to retreat. He's obviously knows that there's a lot of tanks coming this way through the south, and he's trying to get out of there, but it's way too late for him. And we get a lovely shot into the side of the M60 as he is reversing, and he's just getting obliterated now. Not very much he could do. I mean, he could have fought from that position and lasted a little bit longer, but I don't blame him for trying to get out when there's you know, a Jagdpanzer E 100, there's another TD, and about 2 or 3 heavies coming this way as well. So now I've seen that there's this T-54 lightweight up on the ridgeline. I'm going to try and feather a shot, but he's sort of just on the ridgeline. I'm going to try and wait until he's in a position where I can shoot, but I don't want to waste shots in this tank because there is that long reload. You don't want to always fire sort of willy-nilly, and of course it's nice to take chances shots, and I do in most of my tanks, but in a tank like this it's best to wait for a shot, and just by waiting we had a lovely juicy shot into that Armour WoTC there. And yeah, we're up to 2.1k damage and 1.2k assistance, and there's lots of tanks being lit up. One of the light tanks on my team is a fellow pleb member, Lone Wolf, who I'll be tagging in this tweet. I did message him after this game saying this is probably going to be on my YouTube channel. Yeah, and here we are. Unfortunately we missed a shot, which as you can see is really frustrating when you miss a shot in this tank. Just trying to feather a shot into the Malshin's kind of turret cheeks there. I'm just seeing if anything else gets lit up. I was kind of tempted to push up here and try and push up as quick as possible and try and get the assistance for myself. You do run the risk obviously of getting double tracked out in a field, which isn't great when there's artillery and TDs in play, but as you saw in the last couple of replays, I like to play this tank aggressively and push the boundaries of what's capable in a super heavy tank destroyer. So we're just going to push up with our heavy tanks here to my right, hoping this IS-3 comes out to the side. Unfortunately he gets unspotted just as he comes out, but he stays there. I should have aimed that in longer, and again I balloon that shell, and that's why I use the gun lane drive, because even with it, it does take a fair while for it to sort of aim in sometimes, and if you don't fully aim in this tank you do run the risk of missing your shells. I mean, it's fairly accurate for, you know, it's very accurate for a gun of this caliber, but yeah, you still run that risk. You are going to miss your shells if you don't fully aim. So I'm pushing up now and hoping to get a shot into this Malshin. I'm just hoping he peeks. He stays still for just a second too long and we get a shot straight through his cheeks there, taking out the Malshin and pushing our damage total to 3k direct and 1.2 or 1, 2, 3, 4 assistance, which is really pleasing. And we're going to carry on our ascent up this sort of battlefield now. Going to come to the ridgeline up in front of me. It seems like their whole team are just along the one line, which I knew TDs like to camp in the sort of southwest corner of the map, but I've never seen a whole team camp the one line for the whole game before, which is really odd. But you know, I'm not complaining. It's allowed me to have a decent game. We've also blocked 390, you know, proving that, you know, the armour does work. Not all the time, but then nothing in the game works all of the time. If it did, I think it would be really boring. Of course, it's frustrating when things bounce and when you don't penetrate, but you know, it makes the game interesting, and you know, a bit of RNG here and there isn't too bad, you know, if you have a good mentality. So we see this TD. We come over on the move and just auto aim into the T92, a bit of a meme shot there. Unfortunately, you obviously only get 500 hit points for the T92, but always nice killing a piggy. He would have been the one trying to go for me. So we get him out of the game, and we're going to push over this ridge and see if we can spot the opponents. That 279E in the distance there, no problem for a tank like this with the penetration that this gun has. I switched to the heat rounds just in case I hit the turret of the T79E. I'll definitely go through with the heat rounds. There will be no penetration drop off using these heat rounds. It's really not necessary, and I run the risk of hitting that wall, but I just at the last moment twitch and readjust as he's moving, and we get a shot into the back of the 279E, and in those two sort of shells we picked up a little bit more damage and pushed our total to 5.5k damage. Gonna just carry on ploughing forwards. This light tank comes over. I was thinking about just shooting there, free aiming, but I want to go for the extra damage because this game is won. A little bit greedy of me, I guess, but yeah, this game is won. I just want to go for the damage. Come over, auto aim into the 268 version 5, and I'm going to try and ram the 268 version 5 here, see if I can finish him off. I give him a little nudge into Lone Wolf in his M41D, and Lone Wolf gets the kill there. But we finish second behind Lone Wolf on the team, 6.6k direct damage, 1.2k assistance. Pick up a lot of silver because it was the tier 10 silver event. High caliber, 86% on our marks. Might go for the third mark eventually, but I absolutely love this tank. It's so enjoyable, and I highly recommend it. And I hope you enjoyed watching these games and seeing what you're capable of with your armor. So I hope you're all having a really great week. I hope you're all enjoying the new season. I can't wait to try it when I get back from my holiday. See you on a battlefield soon, and bye for now.